Right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. The date is Tuesday, April 19th, 2022. This is a regular place and time for a meeting of the Kings County Board of Supervisors. We're continuing dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. So this meeting is being transmitted by WebEx teleconferencing. So whether you're joining us on the web or through the teleconferencing format, we thank you for joining us today. Those interested in giving unscheduled appearances, please use the raise a hand feature if you're online or get the attention of someone. And then members in the audience that have filled out a speaker card will be taken in the order they're received by the clerk. Each vote today will be verbal or voice vote so that each member of the public can hear how each board member has voted. And again, thank you for being here and appreciate everyone here being healthy and safe, and thank you very much. And we do have a birthday in the house. Do you know of anybody that has a birthday?
I heard it might be Jay Salyer's
You
birthday.
think so? It might be Jay's birthday.
Jay, you want to come up here and give a speech?
Well, Jay, congratulations on another trip around the sun, which I always appreciated. And thank you. Thank you for all you do. Yeah. Blaze the trail. With that, in order to establish quorum, we're going to ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Here.
Richard Valley.
Here.
Doug Verboon.
Here.
Craig Peterson.
Here.
Richard Fagundes.
Here. Let the record show all members present. Thank you very much. Now, if I can ask everyone to please rise as we invite Kings County Fire Chief Bill Lynch forward to deliver the invocation this morning, and then remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Chief.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, please put your blessing on this board and all governing boards as they work and endeavor to make their decisions in the best interest of our communities, in the best interest of the people. Please bless all the citizens of Kings County and all the department heads in this room. And also, please bless the people of the world as we're going through difficult times. We have just come out of a time where your son was risen from the dead, and it's a spectacular time. And please give us your blessing and your guidance as we relate to the things that are happening in this world and trying to make sense of it. And with that, in Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Bill. And now join me as we honor America by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, everyone. The next item on the agenda is employee recognition, and today we are recognizing an outstanding employee of the quarter. And Mr. Hill, would you like to begin the recognition?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. In 1990, your board approved the formation of the Employee Recognition Committee. And each quarter, employees are nominated based on their outstanding achievements in various departments. These nominations are reviewed by and voted on by the committee. The committee requests that your board recognize and award the Employee of the Quarter with a presentation and a check for $300. This quarter, the committee would like to recognize Shirley Alves from the Job Training Office. And at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Lance Lippincott.
Morning, Lance. Thanks for being here. You can tell Ed's from Bakersfield, huh? Can you?
It's the Portuguese sometimes. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I actually wrote down my comments.
Did you?
White says I ramble. So it is absolutely my pleasure to present to you Shirley Alves as Employee of the Quarter from the Job Training Office and the Economic Development Corporation. Shirley's been with the county and the Economic Development Corporation for over 30 years. And what's really cool about this is she was actually nominated by a group of her peers, which is absolutely fantastic. Shirley is and has been absolutely critical to the operations of the Job Training Office and the Economic Development Corporation during her term of service. However, it's Shirley's patience and adaptability that has most impressed me personally. If it was not for the efforts of Shirley liaising with the public during the small business assistance cycles, it is likely that the rollout of that funding would have been much less smooth. And while I could probably talk for a solid hour or more with examples of where Shirley has gone above and beyond, I would simply like to extend my thanks for everything Shirley has done and continues to do, especially within our department. I'd like to call Shirley up, if that's all right, if she wants to say a couple words.
All right. Good job.
Lance, I don't know about the rest of the board, but if I need to know anything about the economic development department, I call Shirley. And tell me whether I need to talk to you or not. So I think she's the one in charge. Yeah.
Everybody, my coworkers, and it's been great. County, I'm so nervous. I don't know what to say. But thank you all. Thank everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, photo op, photo op. Also, Mr. Hill has one of those one-of-a-kind guaranteed to be a family heirloom cap. So we certainly want you to
That's Shirley Alves and Joe Neves. Gang hat.
That's it. You just got to talk fast.
Oh, shoot, it's Shirley's day, man.
Well, this is a channel out the back of
Good job. Very good. Congratulations. Good luck with the milkshakes this afternoon.
It's in the mail.
Checks in the mail, maybe. Again, congratulations and best wishes. The next item on the agenda is unscheduled appearances. Any person may directly address the board at this time on any item on the agenda or any item within the subject matter jurisdiction of this board. Speakers will be limited to 2 minutes. Does the clerk have any record?
The first speaker is Rebecca Bell.
Good morning, Rebecca. Thank you for joining us today.
For California. I just spoken in regards to the sheriff's department for the pet population. I can speak to every person under the sun in regards to the overcrowding, and it's just a matter of money. So in the meantime, this is more of a plea to the owners of the dogs and cats to have your pets spayed or neutered in the meantime and for us to be able to pick up the tab, I mean, it's $60 to fix a cat. And that's, at first I thought that was a lot of money, okay? Because, I mean, it's nothing compared to anywhere. To have your pet spayed or neutered, it's anywhere from $200 to $4,000 because if there's any complications. So, and it's, all you have to do is to help control the pet population. And it's, that the ordinance, there is an ordinance there that they have to have it, but people still don't want to do it. And there was an owner that told me, I don't want to have my pet spayed or neutered because I want her to experience motherhood. I was like, okay, if you're planning on taking care of that litter and their litter's litter, by all means, go ahead. But we all know that it's going to be given away. And it goes out to people and then they multiply it. A cat can have up to 7 litters and it's anywhere between 3 and 6. So one single cat can have a whole colony of people. So it's astounding. So it's just more of a plea to the public and also for people to volunteer. If they can't afford it, to help volunteer, because they're in desperate need. Both the Friends of Kings County of the animal shelter, they're in desperate need of help. And there's only 4 people. And somebody goes on vacation, we're screwed. Yeah. So who's going to take care of it? I mean, everybody needs a vacation sometime. And Lord knows they're working 24/7 out there. And if they're not physically there, they're mentally there. So it's really frustrating. So again, when she comes with her proposal for extra funding, I hope that somebody on the panel will at least champion that to help her write the letters for grants, because that's where it is. And we have to take it to the state because that's where the big chunk is, or unless you reach out to the Bob Barker Foundation or the Betty White Foundation or anything like that. But it's a desperate need, and it's just crazy. And it used to think that if people, if this were to be a dog overpopulation, would it have been taken care of a long time ago? I don't know. Maybe because people feel more for dogs than they do cats, because cats are free roaming, and dogs, if they see them on the side of the road, you feel like your heart's breaking more than a cat, because a cat, you figure there's a million of them. So what's one less cat? So, I mean, it's astounding how many calls that they can get, the animal control can get in regards to, oh, by the way, there's a loose dog. At least there's 10 loose dogs, you know, if not daily, but it's all over town. So it's needs to be done, something at least. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
That's all the speaker cards I have. I do have department heads that want to speak. Ed Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Ed Hill, County Administrative Officer. I'm very pleased to announce that Melissa Shuffle, I think I said that fast enough so it sounded right, has joined our administrative office as an admin analyst. Her first day was yesterday. You can go ahead and stand up. Yeah, we're going to embarrass you. Melissa comes to us from Tulare County, and she has over 6 years of experience in county operations. She most recently worked as an accountant 3 in the Tulare Ag Commissioner's office. She has worked in various roles in different departments, including elections and health and human services. And now that I said that, I probably shouldn't have done that because she'll be headhunted. Originally from Stockton, her and her family moved here about 10 years ago, and she's lived here ever since. So I would like to welcome her to admin and introduce her to your board because you'll be seeing her often.
Good.
And you have an
Welcome. Thank
opportunity
you.
to speak as well.
Good. Thank you. Congratulations.
The next department head is Lupe Villa.
Good morning.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, public, just want to share with you guys, we're going to have a Voter Choice Act event coming up on May 4th from 4 to 5, virtual event with Secretary of State's office. In Kings County, we partner up to try to promote our new election model that's going to be deploying June 7th. So just put on your calendars, May 4th from 4 to 5, and I'll send that information to CAO and Catherine so we can share it with. And I'll be sharing that information with department heads as well.
Good.
Oh, may the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you. Yes, sir.
There you go.
So looking forward to it.
Gonna have Star Wars there?
We're thinking about it.
Yeah. That,
So it's going to be all virtual, so we're not going to have big
Right.
event. It's going to be online, so hopefully people can join us from
Aye.
comfort of their own home.
yeah.
Okay?
Good. Thank you.
I understand that Ed Hill has another item.
Yeah, I'm full of words today.
Man. Trifecta.
Right. I've got to take this opportunity to point out that Sonia Bugay and Henry Ring, this will be their last board meetings today. So I wanted to thank them for their service. Wish them well in their new careers as they move on to other pastures. I won't say greener, but thank you for your service. Always keep us in your mind, and we'll be thinking of you.
Good job. Anyone else? See no one come forward. I don't see any hands raised or anything on the electronic board, so we don't have anybody there. So again, thank you everyone for the unscheduled appearances. Oh, do you have one?
Rosa Zamora, I see your hand is raised.
Good morning. My name is Rosa Zamora and I'm with Valley Voices. And I'm here from Hanford, California also. I just have a short statement to make. Can you guys hear me well?
Yes,
Or
we
do
can
you
hear you.
hear me? I request that the Kings County Board of Supervisors continue to offer teleconference meetings pursuant to AB 361. The Brown Act allows the legislative body of the local agency to use teleconferencing for the benefit of the public and the legislative body in connection with any meeting or proceeding authorized by law. Utilizing teleconferencing for weekly BOS meetings allows people to participate in a local government even if they are not able to be in the BOS chambers on Tuesday morning. That is all I have for now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your remarks. Appreciate it. All right, one more check of the electronic board. No hands raised. Done. No other record. Again, thank you very much, everyone. We move on to the next item, which is a report out on the closed session of the regular meeting on April 12th. And Mr. Hill, do you have a report out on that item?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your board took no reportable actions during the last class closed session meeting.
Good, appreciate that. Thank you. Next item is approval of the minutes from that regular meeting held on April 12th. Have board members had an opportunity to review those minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Moved by Verboen, seconded by Valley. Additional questions or comments on the minutes? Hearing and seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Richard Valley, Doug Verboen,
Yes.
Craig Peterson,
Aye.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes. Let the record show the minutes stand approved, 5 in favor. Thank you very much. The next item is the consent calendar. All items under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be acted by one motion. There's only one item under the consent calendar this morning, and that comes from the district attorney's office. Are there any questions or comments regarding the consent calendar?
No, I'll move as presented. Verboen.
Moved by Verboen. Second. Seconded by Peterson. Thank you very much. Additional discussion? Hearing or seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Richard Valley,
Aye.
Doug Verboen,
Yes.
Craig Peterson, Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
Let the record show that item stands approved, 5 in favor. Thank you very much. Moving to regular agenda items. First item comes from behavioral health regarding an allocation of a full-time equivalency program specialist. Anchang, good morning. Thank you for being here.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the board. I'm Chung Perry with Behavioral Health. This morning, the department is requesting your board to authorize to allocate one full-time equivalent program specialist position for the department. This position requested is to support the increasing numbers of the contracts, new implementations, and overall growth of department's work. This position will be under contract compliance division, which currently has one program manager and 0.75 FTE of office assistant under administration division. Department has two division services. Under administration, we have created a contract division to centralize the contract process to manage 70+ contracts about 4 years ago. Since then, currently, the department has 110 contracts overall. Department is also expecting increase of number of contract upcoming next few years. Two main areas. One is under short-term residential treatment program, which is the mandated program under Children's Services, which is to provide placements and treatment plans. Primarily, they're in out of county, and some are even out of states. And this program is considered as an urgent program, which requires short turnaround of contracts and very complex process overall. Additional contract will be under 7 new grants the department awarded this year, totaling over $6 million. Each grant will require at minimum of 2 contracts each with the various entities. And along with that, grant process were done through multiple divisions in the department, and the department will be centralizing the grant process to contract and compliance division. We also added the compliance program under this division, working with our quality assurance division. Department is required to complete compliance plan and update it regularly. This plan is to making sure the department is providing all services and meeting the federal, state, and all local rules and guidance regulations. In addition, this contract compliance manager will be required to certify as a compliance officer for the department. The final thing that I would like to mention is the department is preparing to implement California Advancing and Innovation Medi-Cal, called CalAIM initiatives. You all have heard us talk about CalAIMS several times. CalAIM is a long-term commitment to transfer and strength medical system by standardize and simplify the overall system between the healthcare network partners. So this is a huge transformation, transfer for the department, transition for the department, and the implementation work will be starting officially July 2023, but we're currently already working with the multiple entities to implement this initiatives. With this implementation, the department is expecting numerous contract amendments with contract providers and to implement these initiatives throughout the whole system. There's no impact to the general fund, and this position will be placed under our administration division under budget unit 4500. And the position allocation request has been reviewed and approved by the both administration, human services. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Good. Thank you, Anjung. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Short comment, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for the item. You know, I know that there's been a whole swath of new funding, you know, allocated for mental health. And I think, you know, from the administration standpoint, it's good in I think, making the step forward. I think when you look at the Care Courts initiative that was announced by the governor's office, it's going to put a tremendous strain on your staff. And I know there's talking about funding for that, but the oversight on that program is going to be tremendous, and the demand on, you know, behavioral health is going to be extensive. So it's a good to get started with this. So thank you. And I support it. I would move for adoption as well.
Good. Thank you.
I'll second Verboen.
Moved by Peterson, seconded by Verboen. Additional questions or comments, clarifications on the motion? Hearing or seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Richard Valley. Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Craig Peterson.
Aye.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes. Let the record show that item stands approved. Thank you, Anjung. Appreciate it. Good luck. The next item is a discussion on AB 361, and to kick off the discussion, Diane.
Yes, thank you. We are again here to consider whether there is cause to continue holding teleconference meetings under AB 361. In order to continue teleconference meetings under AB 361, the board must find that either federal or state officials have imposed or recommended measures to promote social distancing, or as a result of the emergency due to COVID, meeting in person would present imminent risk to the health or safety of attendees. On September 22nd, 2021, the county's public health officer issued a recommendation that public meetings in Kings County be allowed to continue via teleconference as a safety measure. This recommendation remains in effect and can be relied on to make necessary findings today. However, my recommendation today is to discontinue holding teleconference meetings pursuant to AB 361 based upon the current practices of the county in allowing in-person attendance of both the board and the public. If the board decides to discontinue holding teleconference meetings, it would retain the discretion to reinitiate teleconference meetings if required to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public in the future. And with that said, I want to add to the board's understanding of what we're talking about when we say teleconference meetings, because under AB 361, it's not just projecting or allowing the public to appear by teleconference. What it would entails is if the members of the board of supervisors want to appear telephonically without complying with the more traditional Brown Act provisions. So this would not preclude the board from proceeding with a hybrid manner to allow the public to appear telephonically or to publish it, say via Zoom, upon the board's discretion. But what this would say is that the board members could not appear telephonically under AB 361, because that is what is defined as a telephonic meeting under AB 361. So if there's questions about that or the nuances of it, please ask me. It's certainly your board's discretion. My recommendation is simply on my observations and my perception of the state of emergency. But there is still a factual basis if the board determines it's necessary to continue in the manner it has done.
Good. Thank you, Diane. Questions or comments?
Question.
Supervisor Valley?
Morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your time. Question to council, Mr. Chair. So does the board have the ability today, with the way it's outlined in the agenda? Because I understand what you're saying, that there's a certain umbrella that we're doing this under, but obviously the board has had and has the ability to publicly broadcast our board meetings and always remain accessible to the public, pandemic and or no pandemic, right? So under the published agenda, does the board have the ability today, if they felt so, to decide to discontinue holding these meetings under the abbreviated assembly bill, but to also give staff direction to continue to hold broadcasted meetings and possibly with a plan to do it even better than we have been to move forward to remain accessible to the public, again, pandemic or no pandemic?
The matter as agendized would allow for the board to make a determination and take action to make sure that, yes, it would do that. It would allow the board to take action to continue broadcasting and allowing the public to appear via teleconference.
Okay, thank you. Then with that, Mr. Chair, I just want to state my opinion then, that I believe that, again, one of the things the pandemic did was expose some of the faults and a number of things, and exposed how we could do better, whether it's public agencies or companies like Google or Facebook. Just people figured out how to work with their employees to save money, to do things better. In our case, it exposed that we should have been being more accessible to the public prior to COVID pandemic hitting us. And so about a month and a half ago, you may recall, we had a lot of folks here, a lot of folks standing room only, who weren't happy, right? They felt that the board had made a decision under the radar, and they felt that we should be more, we should do more to make sure the public is aware of big decisions prior to us making them and them finding out later. And I agree with that. I think many of us agree with that. And so I think a lot of work has been done on the fly. This young man who sits on the dais with us now, him and his colleagues, they worked very hard to get us to the point where we're at right now. Our clerks have had to juggle along the way and do something they've never done. And by the way, due to the middle of a pandemic, there's been times where during the public meeting, there's technical difficulties. We can't see them or they can't hear us. And you have all done a good job in quickly adapting and overcoming while the public was waiting, and then getting us back going again. And so again, Mr. Chair, in my opinion, and I won't make the motion because I want to hear from my colleagues, is that if we do decide to stop this today, that we also do it by giving staff the direction to quickly come back, keep us going, and keep us going on our own initiative, not because the governor or the state legislature created this bill in the middle of the pandemic. And thank you for allowing me to put my opinion and my comments out there, Mr. Chair.
Good. Thank you. Any other question or comment? The item on the floor deals with the extension of AB 361.
Then in that case, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we go ahead and discontinue the teleconference meetings under the provisions of AB 361. However, we continue to broadcast our public meetings because that's how the Board of Supervisors is directing staff to do so, and on our own initiative. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good. Thank you.
I want to clarify, when you say continue to broadcast, do you mean broadcast via Zoom so people can view, or do you mean broadcast using a forum so that people can participate remotely as well?
With that, when you say people participate remotely, I assume public comment, would that be, that's only under WebEx or YouTube Live? It's just been on the
YouTube does
WebEx,
not
right?
provide the opportunity for the public to participate and offer comment, but it allows them to view the proceedings. WebEx, and there are other forums out there, but we've had traditionally used WebEx, allows people to appear remotely and offer public comment.
Okay. Well, Mr. Chair, I want to be fair to staff and to my colleagues as well. So I would say then that in the motion would be come back possibly next week with the study session on the fiscal impacts of keeping it YouTube Live, because I like the YouTube Live, but also for WebEx. But I don't want the study session to affect the board's ability to vote if they decide today to continue the broadcasting. I want the public to know today that whether we are not planning to do so.
Can I ask another question on that basis? I know that there's a plan to refurbish the chamber, and there's going to be some additions and deletions. I don't know, maybe an outline of what that's going to encumber. It sounds like much of the stuff that's been requested may take place, but it may not be able to take place in short term due to the construction project or update.
That's correct. We have actually had items on order since April of last year. Because of ARPA and some other funding, a lot of people are wanting to upgrade their board chambers. So we're in the queue. As soon as all of our pieces come in, we'll be able to get this upgraded. So we won't have to rope off any more chairs.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, that upgrade will include the continued televised of the meeting through the YouTube Live, as well as uploaded for later view. But I believe the question at point here is the interactive meetings through WebEx, which I think you, Supervisor Valley, would like us to bring back a fiscal impact during a study session next week on.
I think that's fair. Is the motion clear enough, council?
Let me state it as I understand it then. I understand that you may have modified your motion to approve the item as presented today and to have administration bring back a study session about continuing to use Zoom or WebEx for remote participation of the public.
Yes, but to be clear to the public that in the motion, if the board votes yes, it's saying, yes, we're continuing to broadcast under our own initiative, not because we had this, the provisions of AB 361.
So let me try and restate it. So, and I'll try it and see if I get it right this time. So it would be to approve the recommendation to discontinue teleconference meetings under AB 361, but to continue allowing public participation remotely. And the mechanism by which we will do that will be further considered in a study session.
Yes, thank you, council.
You're welcome.
Additional questions or comments? I'm still looking for a second.
I'll second that.
Okay. Moved by Valley, seconded by Verboen. Is there additional clarifications? Here, seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Richard Valley,
Aye.
Doug Verboen,
Yes.
Craig Peterson,
Aye.
Richard Fagundes.
Let the record show that item stands approved unanimous by members present, and we will move forward to a hybrid model and revert back to the original Brown Act recommendation or guidelines prior to AB 361. So
Excellent. Thank you.
very good. Moving on to the next item comes from the District Attorney's Office. And Keith, you have the duty this morning to bring a resolution proclaiming April 24th through the 30th. This
Crime Victims' Rights Week. Yes, I do. So in 1982, President Ronald Reagan commissioned his Presidential Task Force on Victims' Crime to look into having a more equitable and supportive response to victims of crime. The commemorative week usually celebrates the energy, perseverance, and commitment that we've all had. And it launched Victims' Rights Week movement back in 1982, and it still persists today. It inspired the progress, and it continues to advance the cause of justice for victims who are immeasurably impacted and never truly made whole, but we can certainly put forth every effort to do so. Crime leaves a lasting impact on everybody, whether we are the direct victim or not. And it's important that we pool all of our resources and all of the efforts that we have together in order to satisfy these victims and to try to make them whole in whatever way we can. The community's response is a way of putting trust back for these victims into the system and the criminal justice process. And of course, holding defendants accountable is always that first step too. But serving the victims and rebuilding their trust just restores the hope that the victim once had in the system and in their community. So honoring the rights of victims, including the rights to be heard and be treated with fairness, dignity, and respect, and working to meet their needs rebuilds that confidence that they need in our community and our social services system and all of our governmental resources locally. So we're asking this board to make the week of April 24th through the 30th known as in Kings County as Crime Victims' Rights Week, and consistently with the national movement. And I will turn it over to Julia Patino, our victim witness coordinator, to discuss some of the events that we have coming up, not only tonight, which you're all invited to, but also next Thursday.
Good morning, Chairman of the Board and members of the board. Julia Patino, I'm here today representing the District Attorney's Office Victim Witness. And I know we've had a lot of events going on lately, but I want to remind you guys that tonight we will be doing the screening of California's Forgotten Children, which is a human trafficking documentary. And it's also featuring one of our very own residents of Kings County in the film. That starts at 6 o'clock, and I want to thank Juanita Church for allowing us that opportunity to host that there, and also CAPC of Tulare County for giving us the film to show to Kings County. So I want to say thank you to both of those individuals, because without them, we would not be able to do this tonight. And the feedback I'm getting is that we have a lot of churches, youth groups coming tonight, so I'm hoping we're going to have a fabulous turnout. So we really want to get that awareness out there. And then next week, we'll be doing our Victims' Rights Week. And if you guys remember last year, we had to do sort of a little hybrid walkthrough event because our event is normally 350 people, and it's a sit down sort of enjoy each other's company and catch up because all the quilts are displayed, and those families from 1996 come back to see their quilts. So we had to do a little hybrid last year, and we're going to be doing that again this year because the feedback from the community was that that worked well. So there will be a viewing of the quilts from 2 to 6 p.m. at First Baptist Hanford. And then, I'm sorry, that's 2 to 7. And then 6 p.m. will be the unveiling of the new quilt this year. So we'll be doing that. There will be no food served or anything. We're still trying to use precautions, and it is just a walkthrough event. And so that everybody could come see the quilts and meet up again like they have in the past. I do want to say one last thing. Next week is also Sexual Assault Awareness Denim Day, although we're not able to do anything right now because we've spread a little thin right now, but I just want to acknowledge that it is also Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and that Denim Day is on the 27th next week.
And just to recap, the Denim Day was back in the day, a judge actually chastised a victim for wearing tight jeans, and that's why she got raped, which is offensive. So we want to commemorate that day as making victims further victims by chastising them for being victims is something our system has never done here, and we don't want to happen here. But with that, any questions as far as the proclamation? And we would ask this board to approve it as you have for many years.
Thank you, Keith. Questions, comments, concerns about the proclamation?
For adoption.
Moved by Peterson, seconded by Fagundes. Additional discussion? Hearing or seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Richard Valley.
Aye.
Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Craig Peterson.
Aye.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
That item stands approved. Good luck at your event tonight. What time do the movie starts at 6, but what time do the doors open?
They should be open about 5.
About 5?
The event starts at 6.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Airs for about an hour and a half.
Oh, so it's about an hour and a half? Oh, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. With that, we will move on to the next item, which comes from the Department of Finance regarding appropriation adjustments and payments to the state of California. You can't make any money making payments, Rob. We need to talk about this a little bit. Good morning, Rob. Thank you for being here.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Rob Knutson with the Department of Finance, here before you this morning, requesting approval for a budget appropriation to settle the findings from our court revenues audit. We received the final report on March 24th, which covered a four-year period of July 1st of 2016 through June 30th of 2020. The findings resulted in an amount of $506,055 due to the state of California and $18,218 due to the city of Hanford. We became aware of these findings in August. At the time, we estimated the amount due would be around $525,000. Our finance director, Jim Erb, brought an item to your board on August 31st to set aside this $525,000 to assign a fund balance, which was approved. The amount of the findings total $524,273, which was below our estimate. However, we will be hit with an interest charge of $13,669. So therefore, we will need an additional $12,972,000, which we are requesting to come from contingencies. The final audit report is included in the board packet. We have provided written response to the state for each of the findings, which is reflected in the report. We have corrected the issues in our system and our spreadsheets to ensure that these findings will not reoccur in the future. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Good. Thank you, Rob. Questions, comments, or concerns?
Just wondering where the money was allocated, and where that went.
I'm sorry, or not Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Peterson, which funds?
Well, I was just wondering, we didn't allocate these correctly. Where did they go? And why?
The various accounts really within the general fund, and they all fell to fund balance in the end. So there's quite a few accounts that the court revenues go to, and it's just went to different ones. There's a handful of accounts that we split the excess with the state. So a lot of these didn't go into those accounts. So that's kind of what they're calculating and realizing.
Okay. So we didn't overpay in another account where we should
Right. Yeah. It's just
expect money back.
right. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Additional questions or comments?
Approve as presented.
Second. Moved by Verboen, seconded by Valley. Additional clarification? Hearing or seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Richard Valley.
Aye.
Doug Verboen.
Yes.
Craig Peterson.
Aye.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes. Let the item stands approved by 5 in favor. Thank you, Rob. Appreciate that. The next item comes from Public Works regarding a zone of benefit. And Mitch, good morning. Thank you for being here.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, member of your board. Mitchell Cabrera with Public Works Department. Before your board requesting the adoption of a resolution of intent to form the zone of benefits in Armona for the track 756, phase 6 and 7. Previously, your board on March 29th had adopted a resolution initiating the process for the zone of benefit. The developer requested changes in the number of lots in order to allow connections for a future development. This required the staff to re-initiate the process for the zone of benefit since the imposed tax would go from $152 to $156 per lot. So we're before your board this morning requesting adopting the resolution of intent to form the zone of benefits, setting the new public hearing for May 17th of this year, and also introducing and waiving the first reading of the ordinance. So this process would supersede the process that initiated on March 29th when we came before your board. And
Thank
if
you.
you have any questions?
Good. Thank you, Mitch. Questions, comments, concerns?
No. Yeah. Second.
Moved by Fagundes, seconded by Peterson. Additional discussion? Hearing or seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Richard Valley.
Aye.
Doug Verboen.
Yes.
Craig Peterson.
Aye.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes. Let the record show the item stands approved unanimous. Thank you very much, Mitch. And I was thinking Dominic was going to read it. We could have probably had him read it, huh? We'll work on that next time, huh? Moving on to the next item, comes from the Sheriff's Office regarding the first reading of an ordinance to adopt military equipment.
Good morning, Mr.
Morning.
Chairman, members of the board, myself and the district attorney here to follow up on what we presented last week. Feel free to call Dominic down to read ours. though, if
Okay,
you'd
yeah,
like.
you can do, he's leaving the room.
Yeah. As we presented last week, we have some new requirements to come before your governing body on military use and equipment and such. And so today we're here for your board to consider introducing and waiving the first reading of the ordinance to adopt any military equipment use policy pursuant to AB 481. And I don't know that we need to rehash what we went over last week unless your board would like us to.
There's no other new information or nothing?
No, the only thing that the district attorney was waiting on was their list to provide as required, but I don't know.
Our,
if
our
that's-
list has been provided, has been
Okay.
posted on our website.
Okay.
And along with the policy since the date it was required to be posted.
All right, very good. Thank you.
No
Are there
demonstration?
additional questions?
No demonstration.
About a demonstration.
You want a taser demonstration?
I can control the taser, yes.
We
No
should
control.
No control.
take a little trip to Sacramento and have every jurisdiction read it on the steps of the state.
Right. Agree. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, at this
Yes.
time, I'll motion to introduce and waive the first reading of the ordinance to adopt military equipment use policy pursuant to AB 481.
Moved by Valley. Seconded by Fagundes. Thank you very much. Additional questions or comments? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Richard Valley.
Aye.
Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Craig Peterson. Richard Fagundes.
Yes. Let the record show that item stands
Thank you.
approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next item comes from administration where we have two items to consider. The first one is the health insurance renewal rate. And Fran, you have the duty? Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Fran Liziola, Administration Office. The county's employee self-insured health insurance plan is scheduled to renew July 1st of 2022. Expenses for the first 9 months of this fiscal year have been on average or at below projections used to determine rates for the current year. On April 11th, 2022, the Health Insurance Committee met with the county's broker consultant, Burnham Benefits, to review plan expenses and explore additional options. The industry trend is averaging a 9 to 12% increase. However, due to a combination of our claims experience, expenses, and the county's broker negotiating the best possible rates for us, there will be no increase or impact to our fiscal year 2022-23 health insurance premiums, which will include a dental benefits increase of the major services benefit from 50% to 60%, the annual maximum increase from $2,000 to $2,500, and an increase in the orthodontia lifetime maximum from $2,000 to $2,500. The Health Insurance Committee all voted unanimously to increase these benefits. At this time, Mr. Chair, members of the board, if you do not have any other questions, additionally, I respectfully request to approve the fiscal year 2022-23 health insurance renewal rate with the 0% increase and a continuation of the wellness program that does include a $50 incentive for the employees and their dependents who participate. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Fran. Questions, comments, concerns?
We should mark this. It's one of the few times when there's no increase. Zero. Oh,
Well, there's a lot of money invested to keep that premium at zero. So I certainly want to thank staff for all of their dedication and hard work to the wellness program and all of the blood draws and all of the other programs that I think go to contribute to keeping that rate
Absolutely.
very much to a zero rate. So thank you for that.
I'll approve as presented.
Very good. You want that $50? They'll take your blood for $50.
Yeah, no, I do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, look how healthy I am.
Second.
Of course, I spent the $50 on tequila.
I think that, let's see. I think I had Supervisor Fagundes move and Supervisor Verboen second.
You have it correct, Chairman.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Are there additional questions or comments or anybody else want to donate blood twice? No, not part of the discussion. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Richard Valley.
Aye.
Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Craig Peterson.
Aye.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes. Let the record show that item stands approved. And when will they start booking those blood draws? Sometimes I have to study hard for a blood test.
We will be starting again the first week of July.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. With that, the second item coming from administration is the appointment of an individual to Human Services. And Mr. Hill, would you like to introduce that individual?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On Thursday, March 24th, 2022, the current Human Services Agency Director, Sonia Bugay, resigned her position with the county. Her last day with the county will be this Friday, April 22nd. To ensure continuity of operations, and it's recommended your board appoint Wendy Asacapo to the position of Human Services Agency Director effective Monday, April 25th, 2022, and set her salary at $14,201 a month, including management benefits. The salary and benefits have been included in the 21-22 budget. That concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions, and Ms. Asacapo's in the audience as well.
Good, thank you. Good morning, Wendy. Thank you for being here. Anything you want to say?
I don't know, should you vote first and then let me?
You don't want to mess it up, huh? I don't think you'll mess it up. Yeah, you can do it.
All right. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you for considering this item today. I've really, one of the best career moves I made was moving to Kings County and accepting a position here. I've really enjoyed working in a smaller community. We've got a great team of staff here. I'm happy to see so many of our leaders' faces here today. We've got a lot of work. We've got a lot of work in all of our various programs, and I intend to continue to see that work see those projects through. You're going to hear about a couple today, but those are just a couple of them. Don't worry, Sonia's left a very detailed and thorough and comprehensive and lengthy punch list of things we need to continue to work on. So I feel like I've been left the department it's in good standing. I intend to keep it that way. So I hope to hear a vote of confidence today.
Very good, thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Hill or Wendy? Moved by Fagundes.
Second.
Seconded by Peterson. Thank you very much. Additional questions or comments? This is your last time to change. Your second. Yeah, yeah. I wasn't here to comment. Exactly. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Richard Valley.
Aye.
Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Craig Peterson.
Aye.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes. Let the record show that appointment stands unanimous. So thank you very much, Wendy. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm holding on.
Good luck on your new assignment.
I'm going to need it.
Yeah. Next item is a study session on today's agenda regarding the Human Services Agency and making her final appearance as a Kings County employee. Sonia,
Yes, I have a couple more days.
you got a couple more days, but
But
yeah,
yes, my-
no more Tuesdays.
No more Tuesday, my final board meeting. Sonia Bugay, Human Services Agency Director for a couple more days. And congratulations, Wendy. Excellent selection. All right, so I'm here. Oh, thank you, Serena. You know what? HSA staff is just on it. So I'm here both as a Human Services Agency Director, but also as a Kings County Homeless Collaborative Chair or an outgoing chair to do a couple of things. One, give you a quick update on Homeless Collaborative, and then also 4 projects that are related to Homeless Collaborative and homelessness work in Human Services Agency. So let's start. And some of the information in a PowerPoint is a little bit more detailed, but certainly want to just at least have it in writing. So can you go to next slide, please? So just as a reminder, Kings County Homelessness Collaborative was established by your board in September of 2019. It is a 16-member body representing various government entities, departments, elected officials, housing and service providers, nonprofits that are providing advice and recommendations on addressing homelessness issues countywide. Our top priorities for this past year and this upcoming year have been increasing community awareness and collaboration, establishing a low barrier shelter, and increasing permanent housing stock. I do want to share that these are public meetings. They happen once a month, third Monday of each month, and our next meeting is May 16th. So I'm going to encourage the public or anybody to attend. And just for your information, this is the current membership of the Homelessness Collaborative. I'm the current chair, and Jeff Garner, who's actually also in the audience from KCAO, is a vice chair. Next. All right. Want to share that our Homelessness Collaborative has a webpage. It's on the county website, and there's a link. So if you go through a community calendar, there's a way to get to it, getting to it through outside agencies. Even though this is not an agency, most things, including agendas and links that happen on the collaborative, are posted on the site. I wanted to share a few accomplishments and future priorities. One of the key ones that actually happened early in a collaborative's tenure was a Kings County homelessness gaps analysis that majority of agencies have used as a way to figure out what do we need to do next. One thing that's coming up for us is that it needs to be updated. For funding purposes, it's a multi-agency need, and your board may hear about it in addition, because we want to keep using a kind of a joint document to move forward. Few other things that have been helpful since the creation of the collaborative is increased coordination efforts on various projects, our improved coordination on the PIT counts, and then we have used both the joint collaborative work, but also a grand jury report to set our key priorities. And as a reminder, both the collaborative and your board responded to a grand jury report last year, mid of the year, and the three findings and issues that we're working on was lack of community involvement. So we've taken some steps to address that. Lack of adequate low barrier shelter, which we're working on as a collaborative. And also there's no centralized homelessness resource center, which we're hoping we can address as well. Next. And current active projects from the collaborative, there is a shelter replacement work group that's working on shelter replacement, community engagement work group that would encourage public to participate in, homeless services provider advisory group, and then also we're collaborating on regional housing needs allocation. While that's not the work of the collaborative, a member of our team is part of this effort. So that's as far as the collaborative. I do want to share that the shelter work group that's under the collaborative is kind of working in 4 subgroups, one trying to figure out a site, funding, scope of services, and then community buying engagement. And there are some challenges, so this work is just taking longer than we were initially hoping, but part of this work when it comes to site work is really trying to figure out sites first before anything else can happen. And given the market conditions, zoning, those kind of things, it just is the effort. It's taking some time. Next. So wanted to then share with you both our project room key transition and our 2 home key projects, some key updates on that. And then I can pause at any moment for questions, or we can wait till the end. So project room key has been a non-congregate shelter for homeless COVID-19 positive, COVID-19 exposed, or vulnerable individuals. This project was time limited, emergency based, and short-term funded, and it was required by executive orders that were passed in early 2020. And actually, this project helped the county demonstrate that we had a capacity to shelter 15% of our homeless population, which was a requirement to receive our CARES Act funding and realignment backfill funding. We launched the project in May of 2020, and it's still going on. It is a sheltering in 2 motels, our Holiday Lodge and Stardust, for a total of 67 rooms. And during the project scope, we have sheltered an average of 88 individuals per day with an average stay of 78 days. And to date, we've sheltered 354 individuals, 25% of whom were COVID positive. We're currently sheltering 69. So the reason it's a transition, and there's some key things to share with you. FEMA funding for this project is ending June 30th. It is FEMA funding that we've been utilizing for 99% of this project. State has, based on outcomes, distributed PRK state funding for transition. And I have to say, when we compare, this is one state funding that we weren't receiving based on the county size, but really based on successes, and our percentage of total statewide funding was probably 3 or 4 times that we would normally receive. So really proud of my staff on this one, because it really was outcome based. And then project closure and time and transition for the site will be site and funding dependent. Next slide. So I want to just share a couple of things on project room key impact. use these, like the primary purpose really for Project Room Key was to address COVID outbreaks in shelters, in congregate settings, and really for any homeless individuals. We also the site was used when we had COVID outbreaks in homeless encampments. However, one thing that has been probably more frequently used than we anticipated, it was a need and will remain a need, is the site was used to host homeless, vulnerable individuals for encampment cleanups. So we became a site that was called whether COVID was an issue or not. We've prevented hospitalization of number of individuals due to COVID or other health issues. We've addressed immediate health needs of individuals who otherwise use emergency rooms as primary healthcare settings. So the need for Project Room Key is there, but this was just the community impact over the past 2 years. Next slide, sorry. So this is a little bit of data. And because the primary purpose of the sheltering was really sheltering in exits to housing, wanted to show you that over the past 2 years, of the 354 individuals that were housed and that were sheltered, 287 exited. And of those 287, 190 stayed less than 3 months. And of those that we connected to permanent housing, about 20% ended up being connected to permanent housing. It doesn't mean that the rest didn't find housing, but they left and it wasn't housing due to our efforts. 97 that stayed longer than 3 months, 44 found permanent housing, and that's 45%. So when individuals had an opportunity to stay longer and qualified, we were much more successful in finding permanent housing. I do want to let you know that part of this effort was also connecting people to case management and supportive services and employment. I'm not sharing that data because really our primary purpose was about housing. And over the past 2 years, especially the first year, it was really a very different approach because we were shut down. We were housing people who were COVID positive and highly vulnerable. So the approach over the past 2 years changed, but the connection to housing has always been a goal. So I wanted to share that. And then also sharing some demographic information. So highlighted age and people who are chronically homeless. For example, 30% of our population, or just about 30% of our population, are individuals over 60 and 50 to 60 years old. So it's 16% who are over 60, but when you add 50 to 60, it's really then turns out to be about 32% of our population. And then 10% of our population was under 18. Also, individuals, this is all of our information from HMIS system, were asked if they were chronically homeless or not, and we had data. Those who were recorded as chronically homeless were 15%. Those who are not is 70. But if you add that up, there's about 15% missing. So really for 15%, that was uncertain. So really true chronic homeless numbers anywhere between 15 to 30%. We also had about 12% of the individuals that were adults with children and 37% of clients with confirmed disability. Now, this isn't necessarily representative of overall homeless population, but because the population we were serving, this was the demographics that we had. Next slide. So a couple of things on the transition. We're going to transition to sites differently. Stardust Motel is actually part of our Home Key project. So for that, until Sunrise apartment conversion, the 22 rooms will operate as a shelter. Essentially all the agreements and everything that's been set up is already in place. It's budgeted fully for 22-23 fiscal year. We anticipate it will take probably another year to fully transition. So we have sufficient state funds and agreements in place to continue operation of these 22 rooms as a shelter. Holiday Lodge has been on a rental, month-to-month rental. That's 45 rooms. We have state and federal funding available through September 30th of 22. We're going to, given that FEMA funding is ending, we can, and we're in a better space at the moment when it comes to the economy and availability and just COVID outbreaks at large, that we really want to look at reducing motel costs for the 3 months of transition, July through September, and bringing that back to your board for reduction in cost, reduction of some wraparound services. And then we will continue case management through CalAIM community supports, which has already been established. given that shelter work really from the Homeless Collaborative is not there yet, and this has been a kind of a stopgap measure, we can continue exploring options to continue sheltering operations until the long-term shelter work is done. Next. So our pending actions for Project Room Key is really vendor notifications that process is shutting down. We also need to inform the clients and the community that we're going to be in a kind of a transition out process, and then continue to provide our updates to Homeless Collaborative, and then collaborate with KPFP or really any entity out there finding actual permanent housing units to transition clients to is still the biggest challenge when it comes to availability of housing units. So just want to kind of put that out there. Anybody has housing units available, landlords, contact us. So that's the Project Room Key. That's been our sheltering operation. We have a step down process that some of it will happen by September and some of it over the next fiscal year. And what I do want to point out on that is that we really do not anticipate and how we've budgeted and with the funding that we've allocated from the state, it is fully covered. There will be no net county cost impact for this project to shut down and transition out. So Home Key is now not sheltering. It's our permanent affordable housing projects that were authorized by Assembly Bill 83. Our target population was individual with families who are experiencing homelessness or are at risk of homelessness. So a lot of the people that are in the shelter, really this is the permanent housing piece. And we use the 30% of AMI individuals that are 30% of average median income. So I wanted to kind of let you know what that means. So anyone who is making $14,700 a year or less, or for a family of four, it's $26,500 that qualify for the housing. There are two projects that we have under Home Key. One is King's Triangle Courtyard, and the second one is Sunrise Apartments. So I'm going to give you a brief update on each. Next. Okay. So King's Triangle Courtyard. So our standard agreement with the state is between Kings County and Cornerstone Industries, which we also refer to King's Gospel Mission as the two co-applicants. Our Home Key application is bringing to a undeveloped site preparation, which is water, sewer, electricity, and then 24 manufactured homes. The county holds the agreement with the vendor and site control until the units are completed and operational. Then it would basically deed over the units to King's Gospel Mission, and they would be the ultimate owner the second they're actually done. Our contract was executed in December of 2020, and initial project completion was scheduled for mid-21. We're not there yet. Next slide. So our project timeline and progress in this project. Our manufactured homes were ordered in February of 21. August 4 of 21, all permits for project land development were obtained. And subsequent to that, we also hired Vanner Construction to help with project management. Our current construction update that all wet utilities have been completed. We do have an issue. Supply chain is a real thing. I personally hate that phrase, but it has been plaguing this project a bit. And our current issue is that electrical amp meters panels that are necessary to fully distribute electricity, I'm going to get out of my depth when it comes to some of this really quickly, are on the back order, and we have a 200-day delay. We have adjusted manufactured home delivery to accommodate some of these delays, but it is likely that the site, including manufactured homes, would be delivered before the amp meters are there. Next slide. So there's some project progress and compliance given this. We are going to be bringing back an agreement to your board to adjust the timeline of the project and to adjust the budget. Our recommendation would be a $561,000 increase to the agreement, and King's Gospel Mission has committed to fund that gap. And the timeline for the agreement, really, we're trying to zero in on the right date given the amp meter delivery issue. When it comes to state standard agreement compliance, the project remains in compliance. We have worked very closely with HCD to meet the occupancy requirements. The project had an occupancy requirements of 50% to be met by December 30th, 21. We worked with the state and they have basically granted us an ability to meet that by housing individuals in an alternative site. So we have used our project room key and our other programs to basically meet that compliance piece. So we're keeping the state updated on what's happening with this project. So we are in compliance with the project. And then regular updates for both home key projects happen to the state on a quarterly basis on both expenditures and the progress.
So on the 561,000 that they've committed to fine, is that they're going to seek funding or they have that available to them?
My understanding is they have it.
They have.
And we do have backup options. Next slide. So that's as far as the project for Triangle Courtyard. So home key, we both refer to it as Stardust because that was the motel and project room key, and then Sunrise Apartments is what the project will actually ultimately be called when converted. So our standard agreement on that one is between Kings County as a sponsor and main applicant and Kings Tulare Homeless Alliance as co-applicant and actual motel owner. KCAO has been a partner on the application and operator, however, no formal obligation. The intent, however, is once it's converted, that the property then would be transferred from KTHA to KCAO to be owner and an operator. Our home key application actually gives us till 2025 to convert the apartments to permanent housing. And this is one project that's been ahead of schedule simply based on how we applied. So the home key application, was really only for phase one, the purchase, the acquisition, and a purchase of vacant lots next to it. We also had sufficient funds and timing to also start basic ADA remodel, some outside paint and ADA compliance, and actually prepare 3 rooms for ultimate conversion. So that was the piece of the project that we didn't necessarily initially anticipate happening, but it happened early on in 2021. Current operations are that's still operating as Project Room Key. And because of that, we had met the 50% occupancy from day one. Actually, we've met more than 50% occupancy. And what's currently happening is we're operating as a shelter until permanent housing is available once it's converted, and ongoing maintenance and repair happen as needed. Next slide. KTHA also actually had some ESG funding, so we were able to slide this phase 1.2 during this past year, that we did some additional maintenance and repair and prepared additional 3 rooms. So this is why the project's a little further along than we actually anticipated at this point. We were able to do a stair replacement, window screen replacement, some outside lighting, and Sunrise sign was added, and prepped 3 additional rooms. So the pieces that are left for phase 2, which would not start until we have full funding, and our estimated, so 2.5 to 3 million is really an estimate. We had full architectural plans drawn based on that and based on the cost for the first 2 phases. These are estimates. However, until an RFP is run and we know real costs, that's why it's an estimate. What's left is full remodel of the remaining 16 units. And then full electrical upgrade and installing kitchens. So even the rooms that were prepped, we cannot install kitchens simply based on the current electrical capacity of the rooms. We have obtained and were awarded 2 pots of funds, both to CDBG and City of Hanford, one for 1.1 million, one for 238 million. We also applied for PLHA funds during the last fall, but we did not get that. And part of me recognizes that we're not going to get every competitive allocation, but we're almost halfway there. There are 2 funding sources that we've identified that in the spring of this year and summer of this year, we will go after. They're less competitive than the PLHA previous application. So if those are awarded, we actually anticipate that by the end of this year, we'd have sufficient funding for conversion, and the conversion can then happen in 2023. Next slide. So I want to remind you that we still do have till 2025, and technically based on standard agreement, we really could extend that by 10 years. We do not want to. It really makes sense to operate this site as permanent housing. But because of where we're at, the project has been in full compliance. Our occupancy requirements have been met, and the conversion efforts, while we're seeking for funding, is really on a pause. And then this is another project that there's a regular quarterly update to the state. That's been going well. So those are the two home key projects, the room key transition, which is HSA, and what Homeless Collaborative is up to.
Back to the Holiday Lodge, that's leased, right, correct?
Yes, yes, that has been a month-to-month lease that has included in the, in our agreement, insurance and requirements. It really has met all the FEMA requirements, but we can terminate that essentially at any point.
And then with most of these projects, I mean, baseline budgeting and do you see further increases in MOE requirements?
No, there has been no county cost when it comes to these projects. For Project Home Key, we had per door, when Home Key was awarded, there was a per door award maximum, and there were some costs that were covered by, well, really by your board for fees, by City of Hanford for fees, and by King's Gospel Mission. The cost increases in Triangle Courtyard were really about overall cost increases. We negotiated to this amount and then found offsetting funding, but upfront, when it comes to county share costs on these projects, they were not there. And for Room Key project, initially, when Room Key was set, there was a 25% share cost. Your board set aside $500,000 from CARES Act funding, and we had gotten some allocations from the state, from CMSB, from several different sources to meet that 25%. We actually retroactively in early 21, federal government approved 100% claiming for FEMA, and we had actually returned somewhere $500,000 was from CARES Act funding, so we didn't actually end up utilizing even that when it comes to room key operations. And the case management piece has been covered through our whole person care. So case management has not been part of FEMA claiming, so that's the connection of people to substance abuse and mental health and employment. We have managed that through a whole person care project, and that had no net county cost impact either.
Then one last question on the Kings Triangle program and the 561,000 that King's Gospel is committed to. Now, if they were to not be successful in that, we still own the project until we hand it over. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
And
So this is on their land. So there's kind of a couple of pieces here. One is the cost, and we are the ones that are in a contractual agreement with the vendor who's delivering it. So it would be, if your board approves the agreement, it would be our cost. They have actually already contributed $300,000 to the project as part of the original agreement, and that has been paid. But the contract between Green Galaxy Builders, who is delivering the project, is with the county, and the county also holds site control, even though the actual land is owned by Cornerstone Industry and King's Gospel Mission. Part of our standard agreement, we're co-applicants, so they're not just named, they're actually signed co-applicants, and their board on both funding sources actually voted, and we have the documentation writing to support the project and for the funding piece of it. They have obligation under standard agreement, the same way the county does. Once the project is delivered and the occupancy is, we have certification of occupancy, we would then record a deed that everything goes to them. They would ultimately be the owners.
thank you.
And the 300,000, is that part of that 561 or is that on top of that?
It was already paid, so it was on top of it.
Okay. And then I know it seems like all this came about when COVID started. And we got some COVID funding to remove people from the homeless camps and bring them into Sunrise and the Stardust hotels. Then Green Galaxy Builders came in with Gospel Mission. So do you see the money disappearing as COVID disappears, or?
I actually really do not. So what COVID did is really highlight the need that was already there. Our gap analysis that was done, that was started in 2019 with Home Base, and we actually are part of the Kings Tulare Homeless Alliance, but as a collaborative, we wanted to have a Kings County study only that was broader than the county, that was broader than the city, that was really, it took 7-8 months for that study to be completed, and Home Base interviewed individuals, talked to police departments, talked to social services agency, community-based organizations. The need for a low barrier shelter and to address homeless encampments has existed in this county for a long time. As a matter of fact, COCs, so continuums of care, for our category of COC, for our size, HUD does a report to Congress on an annual basis when it comes to number of unsheltered individuals. And we have, in the past 5 years, been, so they only list 5 COCs. We have been number 4 and number 2 on the list, not for number of homeless and not for percentage of homeless, but for percentage of homeless that are unsheltered. So our unsheltered counts have been really high historically. That has always been a need. With congregate meal places shutting down, with parks shutting down, with congregate shelters having outbreaks, it just really exacerbated the need. And it made it a lot more visible. It's been there all along. And across the board, that has been a challenge. And Project Roomkey, while it was not a low barrier shelter because you had to be COVID positive, COVID exposed, or vulnerable, a lot of individuals that are homeless are vulnerable. So a lot of people qualified that it met that interim need and highlighted it. I actually, this past, we skipped PIT count, our point in time count in 2021, but we just did one in 2022. And it's not out yet. The data will be out in April, but our unofficial counts are really showing that our unsheltered counts dropped in Hanford. And part of that is really due to Project Roomkey. I don't think our overall number of homeless dropped, but sheltered versus unsheltered certainly dropped because we had more people sheltered.
Now, I know that I've heard on the street that, we do such a great job with the homeless that we get other homeless from other counties. Do you track that? Or these are our local homeless that we count?
Oh, that myth drives me crazy. I do genuinely think that's a really, now, it is a belief that most communities believe. Counties across the board kind of check on each other. Are you sending us your homeless? There is just that is not an uncommon thing people believe. Are there people that move that are homeless? Yes. Is that a huge number? No. Whenever we've tracked it, done, it's 4 to 6%. And our actual homeless individuals, really, we struggle housing them between Hanford and Corcoran, or between Avenel, even between Tulare and us are technically a single COC. Our county is very careful about placing in Tulare, and they're very careful about placing with us. Part of the reason for that is Medi-Cal and CalFresh. They're county-based. So it's really hard to move and access your Medi-Cal and mental health and all the other services. Same thing for, so we would have an extreme number of these inter-county transfers because we're sharing a single system, we know. So it is absolutely not accurate, and yet it is a wildly held belief.
Yeah, but it's not that we place them or Starry County place them.
Yes,
It's just that
it's
they
that people travel, yeah. And when we engage with homeless and most of the community-based organizations, most people go immediately for Medi-Cal and that kind of thing, that piece of it is really very easily being able to told. The other piece that we have that confirmation is really through our PD. So HEART team in Hanford PD is really familiar with our homeless populations and could tell you, I've been here for years, and when we needed paperwork when it comes to enrolling people, they are the ones that if people don't have IDs and that kind of thing, they would be the ones able to give us statements if somebody's been homeless more than a year, that we have both anecdotal information and actual information that says that while there is migration of homeless individuals, it is much more limited than people's perception.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you as well. This stuff came on fast and hard, and you guys were rock stars in trying to implement all of these policies that have come down. I think my one last statement will be that, do you think funding will change? And when you look at inflation currently, there's going to be an adjustment. And, I think it showed itself very quickly the last time that occurred that, when the state had a budget, saved up and for a rainy day, it went very quickly. So just need to be measured in how we move forward with these.
I absolutely agree with that. We have been working with the state, and actually our teams has set up future meetings with state team to figure out long-term, once we convert to permanent housing, then there's a lot more vouchers and options. We're actually a community that housing vouchers have remained unused because there's just not enough stock. So quite honestly, I'm really not worried about anything permanent housing. Once it's converted, it's permanent housing, and you can actually use Housing vouchers, we all have them. And we have them to such a degree that they're, whether they're Section 8 or they're through my department or behavioral health, so much remains unused because there's not sufficient housing out there. Affordable housing is just a huge need across the board, regardless of the income bracket, that I'm not worried about that piece. And I think the state can't create enough. On the shelter piece, we have, because we traditionally have not had a shelter, worked with Kingston Area Homeless Alliance and our own agency that we use inordinate amount of funding on moteling. So while motels became a really visible thing during the past 2 years, this county has for the past 3 decades moteled CalWorks families. We, independent of Project Roomkey, we shelter families, CalWorks families in motels across the community. On average, I looked at past year and a half, 52 families a month. So we all use different options for shelter, whether it's congregate or non-congregate. We don't have enough of it. There is money coming through HUD and through COC, and then money coming through our agencies that planning that out and working with the state to, I mean, I don't think we can ever build a 100-bed shelter, even if it's needed, but planning that in a measured way that we have an ability to move families through in 90 days and use our vouchers makes sense. It makes more economic sense than it does the moteling approach, to be quite frank. There's a lot in the governor's budget that when it comes to encampment cleanups and some of this to pay attention to, because as the governor is working through some of these care courts and some of these other requirements, the core requirement in our area agency plan on aging, the master plan on aging in care courts is housing. And I'm going, we're all competing for housing, that connecting these dots and figuring out kind of which pot of money to use is the skill needed. But I do think some of this is just going to continue.
Additional questions or comments? Clarifications? Well, thank you, Sonia.
Thank you all very much.
Appreciate it.
Wish you all the best in your new endeavors, and don't forget the small people.
Never. Thank you. I have really appreciated this role and have really appreciated working for you and being part of I do want to acknowledge Homeless Collaborative. This has been a really hardworking group and a lot of partnership. While Human Services Agency has done a number of projects and taken a lead on some of this, we have really partnered every single one of these projects, and those partners have worked really hard over the past 2 years. So I want to acknowledge both the partnership and the staff that have been working on this and for your support. Thank you.
Good, thanks. With that, that concludes all of the agenda items stated for this morning. We'll now move on to the next item, which is board member announcements or reports on their own initiative. Board members may make a report on their activities. Supervisor Fagundes.
Had a good Easter and ate all the extra eggs that grandkids didn't find. And went out to Palace and did breakfast last week.
Yes.
No. And Josh was our official counter. We shot for 500 hotcakes, and he says one was undersized and one was too big.
Yeah. Quality control.
Quality.
Yeah. And then he said there was one that was a little rare, but I told him just shut up and drink your pancakes. But certainly want to thank him for that. Thank you. Worked out well. Supervisor Valley.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This past Thursday in Corcoran on the 14th, again, we had State Treasurer Fiona Ma in town. It was a lunch at Lake Bottom. I want to thank the State Treasurer Fiona Ma for coming again to Kings County and to Corcoran. We had a conversation on public safety, ag, water. The Sheriff's Office was represented by Nate and Mr. Thayer. Appreciate you guys being there. Mr. Lance Lippincott was there as well, added greatly to the conversation. We had Eric Hansen from Hansen Ranches was there, Charlie Myers, Guy, some good folks who were able to talk about the economic impacts of the drought over the years on Kings County and how they continue to impact. They painted a really good picture of that to the state treasurer. I found her to be helpful in many cases She had answers on the spot, especially for things when it came to questions on grants and monies that are out there. She's a former county supervisor for the San Francisco County, and really appreciate her. I enjoyed her time in Corcoran. Also, working with, going back and forth with folks from the Kettleman City Community Resource Center. They're trying to share with county another impact that they had due to the pandemic, and the fact that their room that they used to run out the community for quinceañeras or other public events, they weren't able to rent that out, and it really decreased their revenue. And so they're having some financial issues right now they want to communicate with the county about. Also, I don't know, going back and forth with them, trying to figure out if there's some budget cuts. So, Ms. Gardner, if you have a minute after the meeting, could I talk to you on the KCO part of that? Get some information with you. Thanks, sir. Appreciate you. And lastly, I think that was it. Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Thank you. Supervisor Verboen.
So last week, we all attended the groundbreaking of the hospital, transformation of the hospital to back to the county. Hope to see that done in the next year or so. Excited about that. Yesterday, spent a couple hours working on the groundwater ordinance meeting, and that's all I got. Plus the Easter. Of course, spend time with family is good in a way, but sometimes it's too much time.
Too much time? They have two items, when they show up and when they leave. That's when they're two best times.
Yeah, they didn't leave too soon.
Ah,
They could have left a lot sooner.
yeah. Supervisor Peterson.
My family left too soon.
You still had a grandson yesterday. What do you mean left? Some of them show up and stay.
Grandson like me better than him.
Yeah. Candy. No, I'm good. Thank you.
Kid's got good taste.
Yeah, whatever.
For me, I want to congratulate the Kings County Fire Engineers that graduated and got pinned last Tuesday at the Hardwick Fire Station. Certainly want to thank you. I think there was even a marriage that came out of it, a proposal. So, just we lumped a lot of things in at the beautiful Hardwick Fire Station. So thank you for that. Supervisor Fagundes talked about the spring break breakfast out at Santa Rosa Rancheria. That's the first time in 3 years. The last time we at that event was 2019. I want to thank the Station 7 staffing who took the Easter Bunny around. Josh for his long arms. It really helped a lot. And I'm not sure how many pancakes or bacon or sausage that he ate, but I'm sure he did well. I do want to thank Richard Fagundes, John Martin, Keith Fagundes, and my wife. All came together and made that event very, very easy. So thank you very much for that. The groundbreaking at the Old County Hospital was a very nice event. I certainly want to thank staff for the little shovels and the hard hats and everything that they went to be able to transition that 112-year-old structure, put it back on the inventory and get it back into production. So I think it's going to be a very neat time to break ground, but I think it's going to be neater next year in August, hopefully without any change orders or amendments. And do the ribbon cutting. I think the public is going to be very, very satisfied that that building remained intact and not in a rubble pile somewhere. So the South Fork Kings Policy Committee met, and we did extend the AB 361. And we also had the discussion on a selected hybrid model. And so we're moving to operate in that mode in the future. But before it was COVID, now it's $5 gasoline. People are having a little bit of, it takes a little more effort to be able to attend meetings and stuff. So we went ahead and extended that out. Had the pleasure of emceeing the 2021 Points Award Banquet for Lemoore Raceway. A lot of cars, a lot of teams, a lot of anticipation. Very good meal. We certainly want to thank them. And then it was a race day at Lemoore Raceway as well. So it was a full day event on Saturday. And then the Kings County Homeless Collaborative, Sonia talked about all the high points and just that local homelessness plan development and kind of an update to the gap analysis. And that's going to be due on the end of April. And staff is, even though they got the data kind of late, I think they are very well adaptable and can get that information and get it back to the state in a timely fashion. So I certainly want to thank staff for doing that. All of those deadlines were based on data that came from the state. That's got to go back to the state, but yet they have a short time turnaround. So thank them for that. And we will have a ability to look at that gap analysis update, also the first time since 2019. With that, that concludes my report. Mr. Hill, do you want to talk about board correspondence, upcoming events, and information on future agenda items?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. For board correspondence, there is none. For upcoming events, there's another food truck takeover on April 19th from 11 to 2 on Court Street in Civic Park in Hanford. There will be a film screening, as mentioned today by the DA's office, on California's Forgotten Children, hosted by the District Attorney's Victim Witness Program tonight at 6 p.m. at the Quinanilla Church, located at 12536 Hanford Road in Hanford. Your board received an invitation from Senator Hurtado and friends and family of fallen officer Jonathan Diaz, where the senator will unveil a new sign that will be placed by 19th Avenue overpass. The dedication will take place at the Lemoore Auditorium located at 435 C Street in Lemoore, Friday, April 22nd at 10 a.m. The Children's Storybook Garden and Museum is hosting a kids' night out on Friday, April 22nd from 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. Tickets are $25 per child for members and $28 for non-members. There will be a Hanford Pickleball Club Battle Royal Championship scheduled for April 22nd through the 24th, located at 1010 West Grangeville in Hanford. The Hanford Chamber of Commerce is partnering with the local Ivy and Lace Bridal Boutique to bring their first annual wedding showcase event on April 24th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Hanford Civic Auditorium located at 400 North Doughty Street. Tickets are $15 online and $20 at the door. The Kings County District Attorney's Office is hosting National Crimes Victim Week, April 24th through the 30th, as presented today. There will be a quilt display on Thursday, April 28th, from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the First Baptist Church, Hanford, located at 9125 13.5 Avenue in Hanford. Waste Management will be holding their annual Kettleman City Facilities Informational Meeting. The meeting is scheduled April 26th at 5:30 p.m. The meeting will be held virtually via Zoom, and those who are interested can reach out to Waste Management at 559-386-6151 to get meeting information. Youth Spring Fest is scheduled for Saturday, April 30th, 2022 from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Co Park, located at 543 South Doughty Street in Hanford. The event is free. There'll be free food, games, face painting, prize giveaways, also opportunity to connect with local organizations from the county. And then the Central California Blood Center will be holding the Kings County Employee Blood Drive on Monday, May 23rd, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. located in the old jury parking lot here at 1400 Lacey Boulevard. There's flyers in the back for those that are interested. For upcoming agenda items, administration has 2 items, a resolution proclaiming May 2nd through May 6th, Public Service Recognition Week, and the quarterly waste management report from Kettleman Hills facility. The Ag Commissioner has a consideration for an agreement with the California Department of Food and Agriculture. Behavioral Health has consideration for an agreement with Mental Health Services Oversight and Accountability Commission for Mental Health Student Services Act Grant. Elections has considerations for the Voters' Choice Act Outreach and Education Agreement. Health has 2 items, consideration for CMSP Governing Board Local Indigent Care Needs Planning Project Grant Program Agreement and consideration for the purchase of 4 Moonbeam disinfection devices. Public Works has 3 items, considerations for maintenance agreements with Armona Union Elementary School District, consideration for a resolution authorizing the installation of multi-way, all-way stop at the intersections of 18th Avenue and Kansas Avenue and 14th Avenue and Front Street, and consideration for financing of a pruning tower through community leasing partners. And Sheriff has 2 items, considerations for an agreement with California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation for temporary housing, and consideration for an agreement with the California Department of State Hospitals for incompetent to stand trial program. That concludes concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Good, thank you, Mr. Hill. Mr.
Yeah.
Supervisor
Thank you,
Valley,
Mr.
you have a
Chairman.
question, comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Did I hear you right? You said consideration of four-way stop at on Kansas and 18th?
Correct.
Is that something the tribe is requesting? Are we working with,
I don't know if
are we in
anybody from public
communications
will
with them
hear.
on,
Well, I think it's, they've had more than 8 accidents in a year. So
Correct. It's
It met the warrants.
out of our control.
that is correct.
but can we at least make sure we're communicating with them and that's not something that is catching them off guard?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they're aware.
They're aware. Thank you.
Sheriff, you want to talk about your conference? It's coming up next week.
Those that can make it. Thank you.
Good, appreciate that. Good luck for that. And big turnout. Are you expecting?
About 200 people.
Yeah, so good.
Hosting a luncheon at the Civic Park Tuesday. Chief Sever's been. Yeah, we're going to showcase a little bit of Kings County as well, including.
Good, thank you. Thank you, and congratulations on doing that. And I think that was a kind of a partnership between you and Tulare County, and so thank you for doing that, bringing the law enforcement officials from throughout the state. Good. Good. Good.
Tuesday after the board meeting, you'll be at the Surf Ranch. We can go or? Got it.
Good. Henny, anything you want to say?
See you.
You know, I know, and I saved you for last.
Again, I just appreciate, my short tenure of 2 years, but, it's been a fun ride of all of it under the pandemic. So I like to say it was successful. I'm leaving a great team. That HR department has just developed in so many ways and it's very bittersweet. My roots are here, my family's here, I'm Hoffman's Nursery, so everybody knows them. So I'm leaving that bunch of family and stuff behind, but my life situation has changed and I'm going for it. I feel like I still have enough faculties to do it, so I'm jumping in feet first. But, it's, again, like I said, bittersweet. I love what I do. I love personnel, I just wish, that the momentum that is created that continues through. So, wish the county the best and I won't be a stranger. I'll still be popping through, I'm sure, for holidays. So
You're going to miss this place.
I will. I definitely will. We have very valuable people here. We have very good people with good skills. And that's going to be part of the hardest to leave,
You're not
Got
gonna miss
friends
the
here.
weather.
Well, I'm not going to say that I'm not going to miss the weather here, but yes, it's going to be about, I think average is 85 degrees.
Whatever.
They get,
Whatever.
some houses don't have air conditioning. I was like, really?
Yeah.
I will have air conditioning, but, so that is, I'm looking forward to that a little bit. So we wear a sweater, I guess.
Congratulations,
Thank you.
best wishes. There's always a place here for you. In fact, I think there's 60 positions open. I'm sure we can find you one somewhere.
Probably could.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
sure. I mean, I appreciate that. I mean, again, this is home. It always has been.
Hey, you got extra room over there if we want to come visit?
I might, I'm kind of wedged in that wine country area, so, there's a lot of pluses happening. But, again, like I said, bittersweet. I'm going to miss this place. Definitely my HR staff, they're fabulous, I will say that there were tears, including my own, so. Good.
well, good. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your years of service.
Thank you.
With that, that concludes all the business on today's agenda. We will now move into closed session to take up public employee appointment. And the next regular scheduled meeting will be Tuesday, April 26th. I also want to remind you that the May 3rd meeting has been canceled due to the employee appreciation meal. So you're all invited back for that. There will be some vegetarian meals for those of you that don't want meat. I think it'll be vegetables. Yeah, I think, yeah. With that, thank you, everyone. Please stay healthy and safe, and we'll see you 9 a.m. Tuesday, April 26th. Thank you very much.